The basics of this case synopsis goes: Altemio C. Sanchez was accused of over 30 sexual assaults and murdering 3 women within two decades. Most of these crimes took place around the surroundings of Buffalo, New York. And in 1984, this is when the bike path rapist was just starting to um, commit his crimes. There was 2 women who were walking the Delaware Park in the city of Buffalo. Mr. Sanchez ambushed them, and he um, forcefully committed sexual assault on them. Um, Based upon the 2 women's eyewitnesses, the investigation led to another individual who looked similar to Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Anthony Capozzi, who suffered from schizophrenia, was accused of being the assailant. And based upon misidentification through both witnesses, uh, Mr. Capozzi was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree rape and 1 count of sodomy in the first. Mr. Capozzi was sentenced to 11 and 2/3 to 35 years at New York State Correctional Facility. Uh, this was given as a plea deal to Mr. Capozzi. However, Mr. Capozzi was up for parole for every 2 years, and basically the parole board um, allowed uh, Mr. Capozzi to hear his story, and he noted to parole board that he was wrongfully convicted of the crime. However, the parole board would only release Mr. Capozzi only if he admitted to the crime. However, Mr. Capozzi basically did not respond and reply to the parole board's demand, and therefore he was remanded back to prison. The While in the meantime, Mr. Capozzi was sitting wrongfully behind bars. Mr. Sanchez continued to sexually assault women, and while Anthony was incarcerated, Mr. Capozzi had killed 2 women through beating them and strangulation. He would also strike again in 2007 when he killed Joan Diver in the town of Newstead. Uh, his method was beating and strangulation, and he also unclothed the victim as well. Upon the investigation of the Diver case, the forensics examiners found the sweat stain that was found in the back seat. Further testing showed that it belonged to a male individual, and the investigators basically were um, shocked to have found out that another victim was killed along the famous bike path in Buffalo, New York, and they therefore were forced to reopen the case. And as the investigation went on, one of the victims had remembered taking down a license plate number of the gentleman that assaulted her in a shopping lot in broad daylight. The license plate number was linked to the DMV, which belonged to Mr. Sanchez's uncle.